biggest problem I have and buyers have is not just figuring out what to offer based on comps and things like that, but what to base an offer on depending on demand. And there is kind of nowhere that just says, oh, here's what the demand is. So there's no easy way to find this. So it's kind of a combination of things. Let me start with the listing real estate agent.
Welcome to the latest episode of We Fixed Real Estate. Fred Glick, Drew Hendricks, talking about something pretty darn interesting and kind of trying to answer the question of what is the best way to judge demand? How do you know if someone's actually interested in this house? How you doing, Fred?
Great, Drew. How about you? Did you go surfing yesterday?
No,
With the monstrous waves?
The weather's perfect and the water's like 78 degrees.
I know, it's my kind of water. The Atlantic coast comes to the Pacific coast finally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard it's like 4 to 6 waves. I mean, it's insane.
Oh, yeah, no, we have that tropical depression down there that's really tripping up the surf.
Anyway, come on out and surf, everybody. So the biggest problem I have and buyers have is not just figuring out what to offer based on comps and things like that, but what to base an offer on depending on demand. And there is kind of nowhere that just says, oh, here's what the demand is. So there's no easy way to find this. So it's kind of a combination of things. Let me start with the listing real estate agent. They have a responsibility to the seller to sell the house for as much as possible. So what their manipulations that I've seen over the years is they basically make up numbers. Hey, we have 48 packages out and 28 agents told me they were going to write. Now, that might be right in Cupertino, but it's not in Richmond, so because the demand is not there. But here's some ideas of what you can do to figure out demand. First of all, I always tell people when a house is newly listed and they have an open house, go to the open house on the very first day at the very first minute, because that's where all the very excited people tend to go. It's not perfect, but if there's 20 people waiting, it's going to be something in demand. Also, if it's one of those houses like these agents do to just find buyers, they price something. If it's going to go for 2.7, they price it at 1.4. So people think they can afford it, but really they're just being targeted. Oh, well, I don't know if that'll be that good, but I'll be your agent and I'll help you. Here, sign an exclusive contract at 2.5% of the sale price without even knowing me for more than 2 minutes. It's repulsive. It's like getting married on a first date. But anyway, that's a good way in an open house. If there's only, you go an hour later, there's only one other person, there's nobody, don't think that that's the end all of it and it's going to be no problem. So that's kind of the best you can do, unless you want to hang out there or put a secret camera outside to keep track of it.
Aren't there stats in Redfin and Zillow that shows how many people?
Yeah, so that's what I was getting to next.
Oh, sorry. Thunder.
The nerve of you. Zillow. And you got to do these separate. Zillow, Redfin, homes.com, realtor.com are going to show you how many people viewed it, how many people saved it most of the time. I say that because every once in a while I go on there and there's no statistics at all. I don't know why, but it just happens. But that's kind of your next thing. And then as you see different properties, you can kind of tell what's going to be busy and what's not going to be busy. Based on those type of numbers. Also, Redfin's got their hot house sign, and that just means they got a ton of clicks. But, there's people just addicted to houses, and they're just going to go there just to see the interiors, or they just like looking at houses online. So take that with a grain of salt, and even the saves, take it with a little grain of salt. But you can kind of see what's going on with there. Now, you probably build a script to do this. So anybody out there builds it, I'd be happy to get a copy. So, because you nerds are much better than me. I just don't do this stuff. I just take care of real estate mortgages. Stay in my lane. Okay. So the number of packages are going to be a kind of a bigger thing. It's then kind of figuring out, and this is the hardest thing. You can figure numbers, and I have plenty of nerds that I do deals with for my as buyers, and they want every piece of information. That's fine. I'll get it for them. But there's one thing you can't put that's quantitative. And I'll give you an example. This was during COVID where we had to make appointments to see houses. So I was standing outside with my buyers, and we're the next to go in, and this couple walks out, and the wife is about, 17 and a half months pregnant. I mean, she's just gigantic. And she just said to her husband, I don't care what you pay. I want this house. And you're never going to know little things like, hey, is this house for my parents because I live 2 doors away and I'll overpay because I want them here? So it depends, obviously, on the area, but there are things you just can't judge, and you just got to say, okay. And then you develop a pricing strategy. And also we develop a strategy for what to do with the buyer broker fee, because all these agents, especially if it's listed by your typical Comcast, Compass, Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, agents who are part of realtors, who are part of the cartel, the ones that were sued for $1.6 billion, they've already told their sellers expect 2.5% to be requested by a buyer broker. So that's where we have an advantage, and obviously any of our buyers have an advantage. Sometimes I say, let's throw the 2.5 in, and then on round 2, we get rid of the 2.5. And then you as the buyer can pay our buyer broker fee, or we just ask them seller to pay $97.50. So it's a couple different ideas of what to do, and depending on the strategy, but the demand is the hardest thing to find. So
flesh that out. How does that work? Like I conceptually know it because I've been working with you for years, but talk about that 2.5% and then taking it off the table the next round.
Yeah. So we submit an offer, let's say for $1 million, and we ask the seller to pay 2.5%, $25,000. What they do is say, okay, there's a second round and there's a multiple counter offer. Come back with your best offer. So my buyer comes back with $1 million, same price, but no buyer broker fee. So in essence, competitively, he's bidding $1,025,000. See the idea? So you kind of add that to compete against everybody else's bid.
I see.
And the seller ends up paying lower transfer tax, lower title insurance if they're paying it, and lower commission to the listing agent. Shh. I've had to put it in some of these deals, like we went to a price without the commission, but the sale for commission purposes is based on this higher price. Ego. Or they're trying to get the next listing and trying to impress people by what they did. Listings are something. These people come up with a million different things, but you know what it is? It's 2 things: project management and marketing. Okay. If we can market the property better, it looks beautiful, we know what we're doing, blah, 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 everything's fine. That's the beauty of using Arrivva, because we're only $97.50 and everybody's expecting 2.5.
Especially when you can judge demand. Those high demand projects or properties are really where you need the project management, the expertise, and the tips and tricks of years of experience that can actually allow you to get a competitive offer.
Exactly. I mean, we love to win offers. And I had one the other day. There were 4 offers, and the guy said, oh, this is great. There was another offer pretty much exactly like ours, but the seller said, I want to take their offer, meaning us, because we're not being pigs about the buyer broker fee. He liked our buyer broker fee, which is very interesting. It's the first time I've heard that. And we did all the documentation. We signed all the disclosures. There was no contingencies. So it was like, boom. Let's just basically just go to closing. If it was a cash deal, it's actually a mortgage, but that's all we got to wait for. So yeah, it's something when you interview agents that you're never going to ask and they're never going to tell is like, show me agreements of sale that you've written. You know, blank out the names and even blank out the address, but show me the agreement and tell me why you did that agreement. Put it in an AI and say, is this a good contract to be able to get a property under
Because
contract?
you got one of the biggest secrets of contract escrow agreements if you're in California.
Are you talking about the escrow companies in Southern California and listings?
Yes.
We've talked about that a million times. That came up this week too. We had a buyer. We had a cash deal. We wanted Fidelity National, which is the company we use up in Northern California. That's a title company that just does escrow with it, as opposed to the Southern California escrow companies that find the title, and the escrow company runs it all and takes a fee based on dollars per thousand of what your sale price is. Why? I don't know. It's the same amount of work, the same amount of liability. So I beat up this escrow CEO, and you see their website. Oh, I've been doing this for 100 million years, and here's 10 of our people, and blah, blah. And they have like 2 assistants. And by the way, the assistant made 2 mistakes. They gave my buyer the wrong amount for the escrow deposit. And then they sent out this form and they didn't send it out in a PDF. So it's like, what is this? I don't even know what it's unconscionable how old school and overcharging they are. So, one of our big pitches in Southern California is we're going to save you as the seller money. Oh, because here's what happened. The buyer, what they did is they listed their full price on the buyer side, but that's a courtesy discount. So that because in the contract, it says seller and buyer will pay 50-50, pay their own fees. So the seller never complained about the fee because his agent got him, this is what his agent does and he trusts his agent. Don't trust your agents unless it's us. Because besides the commission, we're going to save you on the escrow fee. And it was like $1,800 we saved them. Why give it away when you don't have to?
Yeah. No, that's a good secret.
Yeah. So these are important things.
Since we like to rant on this show, I will rant about something that this escrow CEO that had X number of years of experience. Nothing drives me up the wall more than when a company says like 490 years of combined experience, where they just add up everyone's. That doesn't mean you may have 5 years of good experience and 485 years of
right. Well, this guy's had 40 years of experience of ripping people off for a high price number that he knows he's doing. He knows he's doing it, but he's not going to suggest to, his company. Oh, and he starts telling me when he was complaining about what I was asking for, he says, well, I have overhead and all that. Well, that's not my problem that you have 2 assistants. We deal with Fidelity National. The woman that we deal with has no assistants. She's a licensed escrow person. She handles everything. I deal with some of these escrow companies. They got 2 assistants. I got to email 3 different people on everything. Yeah, I sound like I'm bitching and moaning and complaining, but you know what? It's not good for you as the consumer, and that's all I'm there for. I could, I could care less about it. He has overhead. Well, you don't know how to run a business. So of course I went on Claude and I came up with a thing to actually put together an escrow company that basically does it through AI. So working on it, but it's not fully vibe coded, but that's the way it should be. This is automated stuff. There's no personalization for an escrow company. Mm-hmm. Send us the escrow deposit. We get the title insurance. We clear out everything. We send you the final fees that we hook up with the lender on to make sure they're right. And then send out a notary. That's it. Yeah. That
makes a lot of sense. But on to something that's not a rant. We've got a great update for one of our guests and one of the partners that we have with Arrivva, CoBuy.
I'll show you what it is. Here it is, CoBuy. So they've taken one of our listings, actually. This is the first one they're doing. And CoBuy is a company, just so you'll see it. If you're buying and you're not married, you need to get into a contract between yourselves about all different things: ownership, money matters, risks, admin, rights and responsibilities, and an exit strategy. And that's what CoBuy does. It's fantastic. So go to CoBuy.io to get all the details. But what they're starting to do is now putting actual properties and giving you different things. Like this supports 3 to 5 adults sharing with each with a private suite. This has 5 private suites. This place, one giant main bedroom and then 4 others. So they give it a grade, and then they tell you how it grades for sharing depending on who you are and what you are. And then they keep going. It talks about the property. Here we go. So if there's 2 co-buyers, you would each come up with $12,000 a month and come up with $413,875 down payment each, assuming 20% down payment. He's got to make some assumptions, but with 5 people, you got to start up. Everybody pays $5,000 a month. You come up with $165 each, and you're able to buy the property. And then, it's showing the photos and
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. So he's not a brokerage. So what he's doing, if you want information about this, contact the listing agent, which is us, and it goes to our main page, current main page, although that's changing too, thanks to Drew. But yeah, it's really cool. And if you can go back and Google our podcast for CoBuy for Matt.
We'll put a link to that episode for anyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially people cohabitating.
So this is pretty good. I mean, this is a very expensive property to do this with, but you're going to do it with a $500,000 property in Washington or something. It, might make sense.
Mm-hmm.
After college, you got your same friends from college. You partied with them. You did stuff with them. Maybe now you want to continue and live with them while you guys are working and have money now. So it's another way to do it. So it's very cool. Very, very cool stuff.
That's a great chart. I remember when he was on the show, it took me a minute to really get the idea around CoBuy, but having it listed out there that's gold.
Yeah. One other last thing for the podcast we want to tease. In a couple of weeks, we will have the CEO of this company on, who used to be was my buyer, him and his wife. They've come up with something called overassessed, meaning your property taxes might be too high in California. Well, they have a system to help you appeal your taxes. He'll go into all the detail, and we're giving away, usually he says to agents, they'll give them like $10 or something for each click, but we're giving that back. We don't take money when you click on things for us and get little $5 this and $10 that. We pass it on to you. It's like stupid. So there's some agents making, drug money or something from these kind of things. There you go.
Well, that's cool. I'm excited for that to happen, or excited for that guest, especially. I feel overassessed right now, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah, because you don't have a sidewalk. You're definitely overassessed.
I'm the only person that didn't get a sidewalk.
I know. You're being discriminated against. I would file a discrimination suit against the city.
Although I do have to, there is one 3 blocks down it has a worse sidewalk than us, and they didn't get one either.
Don't tell.
So now I have the second worst sidewalk on the street.
Yeah, but if you're assessed the same amount as your neighbor and you got the exact same house and they have a sidewalk and you don't, you're overassessed.
You're right. And that ties a complete circle. Tune in for an upcoming episode where you're going to learn if you've been overassessed, or how to figure out if you are. Well, at any rate, this has been the end of We Fixed Real Estate, and
not the end. Just today's.
No, it's not the end. No, it's not the end. This is the culmination.
He always screws this up. Okay,
the culmination of this episode has concluded. Stay tuned next week for something even more exciting.